theology of Christendom. But the name Jesus Christ was only used as a figurehead. But actually Paul is responsible with more than almost all of the doctrine of Christendom. So based on that angle, we believe the Quran have done what it's supposed to do, and the Bible have been changed. Now in the book of Psalms chapter 2 verse 7, for example, the change of verses have proved that the Quran, the Bible really have been changed. We see in the book of Psalms chapter 2 verse 7, in the King James Version, it said, God said to me, David is speaking, God said to me, you are my son, this day I have begotten you. But in the NIV, it says, God said, you are my son, today I have become your father. So many people take this word to say, okay, since David said, thou art also begotten son, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It is no more in this new Bible that is coming. In the King James Version, yes, begotten is there, but in the Revised Standard Version, it's being changed. The begotten is taken away because the Muslims are talking about begotten because God does not beget. How could God beget? Begetting belongs to the lowest animal function of sex. So are we prepared to give it to God Almighty that He begets? No matter how you look at it, it is an insertion. It is something that Jesus Christ did not advocate. It is something that was, perpetuated long after Jesus Christ left the earth. And that definitely carries the weight that the Bible have been changed, and that changing is keep on going, is an ongoing thing. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you would please offer a round of applause for us. At this time, we will now offer questions from the audience which you have previously submitted for both participants. We will distribute the questions as evenly as possible while we have time. First question is going to be for Sheikh Awal.
Mr. Moderator, is it 2 minutes and 1 minute again?
Yes, 2 minutes to question and 2 minutes to respond, and then 1 minute for the opposing participant.
Thank you.
To comment. Sheikh Awal, the question is, what evidence or argument would you find compelling or persuasive in demonstrating that the biblical text has not been corrupted? And in other words, what would convince you that the Bible today is the Word of God?
Dealing with other verses to show that there is a lot of variation in the books, and that any book that claims to be from God Almighty must be consistent with itself. Then I try to, in the book of Mark, for example, Mark 9 verse 44, the King James Version says, where their womb dies not, and the fire is not quenched. Now, this is also omitted in the Revised Standard Version. It is not in the Good News Bible. It is not in the New International Version. Now, this is expunged. It is not there. The King James doesn't have it, but the other Bibles don't have it. Meaning, there is some changes. If it's from God, there shouldn't be any changes. If a book comes from God, there should be no changes.
I didn't hear an answer to the question that was asked. The Sheikh did not explain to us what kind of evidence he would accept. In essence, what he said was, as long as I interpret the Bible incorrectly, then it must not be the Word of God. And that's what's going on here. For example, Mark chapter 9, in the text I gave him, if he would open up to it, look at it, he'll have an entire listing of what manuscripts have and do not have that. That's called a parallel corruption. It comes from another place in the gospel that has that particular thing. That's not a, quote, change. That's not expunging. That's Christian scholarship utilizing the full realm of all the manuscript evidence that is available to us to give us the best text. Something that Muslim scholars cannot do because they do not have that information for the Quran. That is the fundamental difference. And so the question was not answered. What evidence would convince him? Evidently, there can't be any evidence that would convince him that the Bible is the Word of God because of his Islamic presuppositions.
Thank you, Dr. White. Thank you, Sheikh Awal. The next question is for Dr. White. Sorry, Rami, that you both are bringing up the text of Mark, so we will have a question regarding the text of Mark. At Mark 7, Mark puts an argument in the mouth of Jesus from Isaiah that is based on an erroneous translation of the Septuagint. Jesus said his teaching has adopted the traditions of men. And in fact, the Hebrew reads something like, your worship of me is merely an act of going through the motions. It seems unlikely that the Pharisees would be stumped by an argument based on a mistaken translation into Greek when they read the more accurate Hebrew. It looks like Mark is inventing words Jesus would not have said, and so Mark is unreliable. How do you respond?
The questioner is simply completely wrong in saying that Jesus is somehow quoting an Old Testament text when he is first initially saying to them that they are hypocrites. Now, he quotes from Isaiah, this people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me, but in vain do they worship me, teaching his doctrines and precepts of men, a text that Sheikh Awal has quoted many, many times and has never had any problem with. I find that to be interesting. But then he makes the application, neglecting the commandment of God, you hold to the tradition of men. This is in reference to the washing issue and the impurity of hands issue. So I don't understand the argumentation that somehow Jesus is allegedly misquoting an Old Testament text. That may be the assertion, but I saw no evidence that is the case whatsoever. And Jesus' point is not to argue some word from the Old Testament in the first place. He's simply pointing out that these individuals, while they are very punctilious in their observation of the law and of doing things, likewise ignore the weightier matters of the law, which is the very foundation upon which Jesus brought accusation against them. So without any evidence being provided in the question of an alleged mistranslation in the Greek Septuagint or anything else, there's no way of really meaningfully dealing with such an assertion.
Sheikh, do you have a response?
Yes, the question I really have from the revised question, the revised question that he asked, that is very true, because clearly you can see this guy saying that people they worship me with their lips, but their hearts are on me. Clearly they worship me because of men. You know, when for instance, the Word of God, the Messenger of God, before we have that formality that events that people come and worship me for nothing, he gave us that answer already before it happened. Still, we are simply worshiping Jesus, calling him God, calling him Son of God. And he knows that people will come and worship him. And then, so that he is accepted. That is people written like in Matthew 7:21. When he said, you worship me for nothing. The only one that he should, the one God Almighty, the one God that he should, So, definitely, the question is legitimate in that answer why.
Dr. White, would you like to offer a response to the question?
It is amazing that we were just told that what Jesus is doing is prophesying in a gospel that we can reject anything we want to or accept anything we want to. That Jesus is prophesying about Christians when the immediate context is very clearly about the Pharisees who are attacking his followers because they did not wash their hands the way the Pharisees did. If you can cut the text of the Bible apart like this and just rip parts out and ignore the context, then I can take any book Sheikh Awal has written and turn it on its head. Language requires context. The context of the text is talking about Jesus and the Pharisees. Turning it into a prophecy of Christians in the future is just as wild and irrational as saying that the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 was prophesying about the Quran. The man who led everyone to engage in shirk was actually prophesying about the Quran. We heard that as well. This kind of handling of the text, I want to say right now before God, I hope I never treat the Quran the way the New Testament text is being treated, by that kind of abuse of the text. And I call on Sheikh Awal. This is not scholarly. You have scholars who do not do this. I call upon you, please, sir, you need to study the text much more closely and allow the context to speak for itself.
Thank you, Dr. White. Sheikh, would you like to offer one more response to that?
Well, the message is so clear. What Jesus told us, absolutely different what is happening today. We can't go actually worshiping Jesus Christ. And that is, the word that he gave to mankind. Cautious, not to worship him, not to take him as a messenger of God, as God, something that is worship. So what he said in Mark, also in Matthew, that people they worship with their lips, but they are far away from me. I still stand with that, and this is exactly what is happening today. I've never seen people worshiping Jesus, but after he lived, the people can worship him. And he worship him and warn him that the God that is supposed to be worshipped is only one God.
We'll debate that issue tomorrow evening.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Sheikh Awal, question for you is, if the New Testament manuscripts that currently exist today in the oldest form we have in possession date back to the 2nd century,